I did a live video speaking on this, but because of the fact that the video was kind of choppy and the way it aired from live sounded funny, I'm gonna redo it. Hindsight should be 2020, and the fact that we look at the Donald Trump presidency and doesn't have hindsight and see the fact that Donald Trump was a Manchurian candidate tells me America is about to collapse and democracy is over with. Yes, democracy is ending in America, and I know some, especially black people who love Europeans, some of us believe America will always exist as it is, and it is too powerful to fall. However, my thing is to tell you that America does not have hindsight, right? And I say that because if we look back at Trump presidency, you should be able to clearly see that he was a Manchurian candidate and he did lots of actions that benefited Putin and made it that we would suffer during Putin attack on Ukraine. Let me first start by saying Trump canceled the energy deal America had with Iran in order to place embargoes on Iran. This prevented Iran from selling that oil on the international exchange, which made Russia oil more valuable. You see that through the fact that this Chinese spy was caught trying to sell Iran oil, trying to trade Iranian oil for Chinese weapons. That is because Trump put them on canceled the energy deal. They want to form nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, so they put them on sanctions globally because white supremacy is a global event.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Trump has been saying he wants to exit the Iran nuclear deal for a long time, a deal that has so far prevented Iran from developing nuclear weapons.
The United States no longer makes empty threats. When I make promises, I keep them.
This is a massive reversal of U.S. foreign policy with far-reaching consequences. So,
it's clear most of the world felt that Iran was compliant with the nuclear deal that America had cut with Iran and the rest of the world had cut with Iran. So there's no proof or sound reason why Trump ended the deal with Iran other than the fact that Trump wanted to take Iranian oil out of the international market for Russia. Hindsight should be 2020.
Shah was in power in Iran. The US had helped him develop a civilian nuclear program. There was concern decades later that the new government of Iran was going to try to take that program and develop a nuclear weapon. This deal, the deal that President Trump just pulled out of, was the world's attempt to prevent war and to get Iran to stop that pursuit of a weapon without forcing it to.
So that's ultimately how we got to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the formal name for the Iran deal, signed not just by Iran and the United States, but also the UK, France, Germany, Russia, China, and the European Union. At its broadest, the deal imposed a set of restrictions on how Iran developed nuclear capabilities in exchange for the US reducing economic sanctions. Now, the way the JCPOA was structured, the president recertified it every 90 days, or those sanctions would kick back in. Trump had threatened this outcome for months, but is just now enacting it.
He thinks the Iranians can't be trusted, he thinks the deal is not strict enough, and he thinks that Iran isn't abiding by the spirit of the deal because they're doing things like develop long-range missiles.
All those are things they use to rationale his erratic behavior. But the truth is, everyone, the UN and all the inspectors said that Iran was in compliance with the deal that was signed. So Trump Trump not abiding by the deal that the prior president had agreed upon, which was Obama, makes it more difficult for America to negotiate deals with other countries because they're not going to believe the next president will abide by those same agreements. So he not only weakened America and weakening our resolve to be able to deal with this war and costing us to have higher gas costs by taking Iranian oil off the market, right? He also weakened America's ability to negotiate deals that would allow America to stay safe. So to make America great placed America in danger.
The thing is, 3 of Trump's own top officials were very much in favor of the deal, but only one still holds their office.
If we can determine that this is in our best interest, then clearly we should stay with it.
Americans agree with the Secretary of Defense. A recent poll shows a majority of respondents back the agreement, including 68% of Democrats, 51% of independents, and even a slim plurality of Republicans. 46% supported the deal, while 42% opposed it. And America's allies strongly urged the US and Trump to stay committed to the deal as well.
What do you have as a better option? I don't see it. What is the what-if scenario? Or your plan B? I don't have any plan B for nuclear against Iran.
We are of the opinion that the JCPOA is a first step.
But Trump believes he can negotiate better terms.
They are going to want to make a new and lasting deal, one that benefits all of Iran and the Iranian people.
The original deal imposed strict limits and monitoring of Iran's nuclear program. Iran was forced to get rid of the vast majority of the uranium it had already enriched, as well as get rid of most of the centrifuges that it used to enrich that uranium. Under the deal, Iran also couldn't enrich uranium past the threshold for producing nuclear energy, which is significantly lower than the threshold for medical uranium and weapons-grade uranium. The UN's nuclear agency has verified that Iran complied with the deal, which is also what makes the US leaving so significant, especially right now on the cusp of negotiations with North Korea over its own nuclear program.
In fact, at this very moment, Secretary Pompeo is on his way to North Korea in preparation for my upcoming meeting with Kim Jong-un.
But here's the thing. If you're the North Korean government, and especially if you're Kim Jong-un, and you're watching what just happened with the Iran deal, why would you believe that if you struck a deal with President Trump, that the next president would stick to it? If you've just seen, literally, the United States tear up the previous deal they'd signed with the country to get that country to give up its nuclear program. And that's why President Trump's decision to pull out the Iran deal is so dangerous. Europe believes the deal works. European companies are doing business with Iran. So this isn't just a blow diplomatically, it's also a blow financially to many of our closest allies around the world.
As a result of Trump cutting the Iranian deal, North Korea had no incentive for dealing with America, so what did North Korea do? North Korea increased its nuclear capabilities, right? And increased its long-range missiles capabilities, all under Donald Trump, while him and the leader of North Korea were sending each other what he described as love letters, saying that they bolstered a great friendship with a country that is directly threatening America with nuclear attacks and have created weapons under President Trump that will reach America. So let's be clear about that. These are steps and things Donald Trump did to make America weak.
This morning, nuclear tensions between the U.S. and North Korea escalating as the U.S. shows its military support for South Korea. The North blasting the U.S. for, quote, reckless military moves after this U.S. nuclear-armed ballistic submarine docked in the Korean peninsula. North Korea's defense minister threatening possible nuclear retaliation.
While President Trump was in love with Kim Jong-un, he increased his nuclear abilities and is now threatening America with nuclear attacks. So it's many indication and ways to show that Trump actions weaken America.
As the US continues to pile pressure on Iran, a Chinese firm has found itself caught in the crossfire. Washington has sanctioned state-run energy firm Zhuhai Jinrong for buying Iranian crude. The sanctions block all of the Chinese company's assets in the United States and bar its chief executive from entering the country. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the Chinese company knowingly engaged in a significant transaction for the purchase or acquisition of crude oil from Iran. He warned anyone considering a similar move to take notice, saying that the sanctions underscore American commitment to enforcement and to holding the Iranian regime accountable. Washington's move has riled Beijing. China says it firmly opposes the unilateral sanctions by the United States, as well as long-arm jurisdiction on itself and other countries invoking its domestic law. Tehran's oil industry has suffered since the U.S. reimposed sanctions last November. Government data and trade sources indicate that Asia's crude imports from Iran fell in May to the lowest in at least 5 years, after China and India wound down purchases, while Japan and South Korea halted imports entirely.
Let's be clear. This is an indication of how Trump actions benefited Russia. You have to understand the meaning of supply and demand. Demand stayed the same, so what did you do? You cut off some supply. You cut off the supply. This made Russia oil and other oil-producing countries more valuable. This made Russia able to generate more money prior to the war and allow Russia to continue to sell oil during the war, because the world cannot afford to cut Russia off its oil while keeping Iran in sanctions. This is how Trump helped benefit Russia. Political actions. Trump was the preparation for Russia to attack Ukraine. Donald Trump was a Manchurian candidate. His actions prove this. Look at the results of his actions, and you can tell what he was doing. Let's be clear about this. Why was there no embargo on Russia selling oil? Russia is a nuclear country that's acting erratic because they're white people. See, racism has blinded America so much that America is about to collapse. White people insecurity is so great that they cannot hold themselves accountable for their actions. So he placed Iran in embargoes, taking their oil off the international market, making Russia oil more valuable. Then he placed tariffs on Canada, claiming it was about trade agreement. But what he failed to tell the people is that America gets 92% of Canada oil, which Canada is probably the 8th nation in oil production. We get 92% of their oil and send it through our refineries. Him placing tariffs on oil, meaning that the American consumer will pay for the tariffs, pay an extra fee to purchase the oil from Canada. Canada retaliated with tariffs back on America. Part 2 on how Make America Great made America weak. I will discuss how the tariffs on NAFTA negatively affected America and harmed our economy. That'll be part 2.